Welcome to Code Your English, the home to learn and grow fast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Code Your English. I am very happy that you are here today. If this is your first time listening, welcome to our learning family. And if you already listen to our podcast regularly, thank you so much for coming back. It truly means a lot to have you here with me today. I hope you are doing well and having a good day, wherever you are in the world. Maybe you are listening while relaxing at home. Maybe you are walking outside, traveling, studying, or even practicing your English. No matter where you are, I want you to know that I am very happy to spend this time with you. Today, we are going to talk about something very important, something that affects almost everyone in life, even people who look confident and successful. Our topic today is self-doubt kills more dreams than failure. I want you to think about this sentence for a moment. It is powerful, isn't it? Sometimes, many people think failure is the biggest reason why dreams do not come true. They think people stop because they fail. But the truth is, sometimes very different. Many dreams do not end because of failure. Many dreams end because of fear, negative thinking, and self-doubt. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wanted to do something important, but you felt afraid? Maybe you wanted to speak English in front of other people, but you felt nervous. Maybe you wanted to start something new, like a YouTube channel, a business, or a new skill. But a small voice inside your mind said, "Maybe I cannot do this." Have you ever believed that you were not smart enough, not good enough, or not ready enough? Have you ever stopped yourself before even trying? If your answer is yes, please know something very important. You are not alone. So many people feel this way. In fact, almost everyone experiences self-doubt at some point in life. Even successful people, talented people, and confident people sometimes question themselves. They also feel fear. They also worry about failing. The difference is that many of them learn how to move forward, even when they feel afraid. This topic is very important because self-doubt can quietly stop us from growing. It can stop us from learning new things, trying new experiences, and following our dreams. Sometimes, people stay in the same place for many years, not because they are weak or lazy, but because they are afraid to believe in themselves. And if you are learning English, this topic is especially important for you. Maybe sometimes you feel shy when speaking English. Maybe you are afraid of making grammar mistakes or pronunciation mistakes. Maybe you compare yourself to other people and think, "My English is not good enough." But let me tell you something important today. Every strong English speaker was once a beginner. Every fluent person once made mistakes. Learning something new always feels difficult at the beginning. In today's episode, we are going to talk deeply about self-doubt, why it is so dangerous, how it stops people from following their dreams, and most importantly, how you can slowly become stronger than your fears. So, stay with me, relax, practice your English, and let us learn something valuable together today. What is self-doubt? Now, before we go deeper into today's topic, we first need to understand something very important. What exactly is self-doubt? We hear this word sometimes, but many people do not fully understand what it really means. So let us talk about it in a very simple and easy way. Self-doubt is when you do not fully believe in yourself. It is that feeling inside you that makes you unsure. It is the quiet voice in your mind that says, "Maybe I cannot do this," or Maybe I am not good enough. Self-doubt happens when you start questioning yourself, your skills, your intelligence, or your ability to succeed. Sometimes it makes you feel weak, even when you are actually capable of doing something good. To explain it simply, self-doubt means feeling unsure about yourself. It means not trusting your own ability. It means thinking that maybe you are not smart enough, talented enough, good enough, or ready enough to do something important. Sometimes people think they need to become perfect before they start something. They think, I will start when I am better, or I will try when I feel fully ready. But many times, that perfect moment never comes. For example, maybe you want to improve your English speaking. You want to talk confidently with others. You want to speak more fluently. But then self-doubt starts talking to you. It says things like, your English is bad, people will laugh at your mistakes, or you should stay quiet because others speak better than you. And because of these thoughts, many people stop speaking English, even when they really want to improve. They stay silent, not because they cannot learn, but because they doubt themselves. Maybe some of you listening right now understand this feeling very well. Perhaps there was a moment when you wanted to speak English in front of someone, but fear stopped you. You wanted to answer a question, join a conversation, or practice speaking. But then you started thinking too much. You became afraid of making mistakes. You worried about grammar. You worried about pronunciation. So instead of speaking, you stayed quiet. That feeling is often connected to self-doubt. But self-doubt is not only about learning English. It can happen in many areas of life. For example, maybe someone dreams of starting a YouTube channel. They have good ideas. They want to share knowledge or help people. But before they even begin, they think, who will watch my videos? Maybe I am not interesting enough. Maybe my English is not perfect. Maybe people will judge me. Because of these fears, they never even start. The dream stays only inside their mind. Some people experience self-doubt when speaking in front of other people. Maybe they want to give a presentation, share an opinion, or speak in public, but fear enters their mind. They begin thinking, what if I say something wrong? What if people think I am not smart? What if I make mistakes? So they avoid speaking, even when they have something valuable to say. Other people feel self-doubt when learning a new skill. Maybe they want to learn driving, cooking, public speaking, business, technology, or even a new language. At first, they feel excited, but after some time they start thinking, this is too difficult. I am not talented, or others learn faster than me. Slowly, they stop trying. Again, self-doubt becomes stronger than their dreams. The truth is, self-doubt is very common. Almost everyone experiences it at some point in life. Even successful people sometimes doubt themselves. Even people who look very confident can feel afraid inside. Students feel self-doubt. Teachers feel self-doubt. Business owners feel self-doubt. Content creators feel self-doubt. Even famous people sometimes wonder if they are good enough. So if you experience self-doubt, it does not mean there is something wrong with you. It simply means you are human. But here is something very important to understand. Self-doubt itself is not always bad. In small amounts, it can sometimes help us think carefully or prepare better. The real problem starts when self-doubt becomes too powerful. It becomes dangerous when it stops us from trying. It becomes dangerous when fear controls our decisions. It becomes dangerous when we give up before even starting. Think about this for a moment. Failure can teach us something. Failure can help us grow. Failure can make us stronger. But when self-doubt stops us from trying, we learn nothing. We grow nothing. We stay exactly where we are. That is why understanding self-doubt is so important. So, if you sometimes feel unsure, afraid, or not good enough, remember this. Feeling self-doubt is normal. Many people feel it. You are not alone. But never let self-doubt become the reason you stop trying. Because sometimes the biggest mistake is not failing. Sometimes the biggest mistake is never giving yourself a chance. Why self-doubt is more dangerous than failure. Now that we understand what self-doubt is, let us talk about something very important. Why is self-doubt more dangerous than failure? This is actually the heart of today's topic. Remember the sentence we talked about earlier. Self-doubt kills more dreams than failure. At first, this sentence may sound surprising. Many people think failure is the biggest enemy of success. They believe dreams end because people fail. But if we look deeper, we often discover something very different. First, let us understand what failure really means. Failure is when something does not go the way we planned. It means we tried something, but we did not get the result we wanted. Maybe we made mistakes. Maybe things became difficult. Maybe we were not successful the first time. Failure can feel painful, disappointing, or frustrating. Nobody enjoys failing. It can make us feel sad or discouraged for some time. But here is something important to understand. Failure is not always a bad thing. In fact, failure can teach us valuable lessons. Failure can help us learn what works and what does not work. It can show us our weak points and help us improve. Sometimes failure teaches us patience. Sometimes it teaches us strength. And sometimes it teaches us that success takes time. Think about learning English. When someone starts learning English, they usually make many mistakes. They may pronounce words incorrectly. They may forget grammar rules. Sometimes they may feel embarrassed when speaking. But these mistakes are part of learning. Imagine if someone says a sentence incorrectly, learns from it, and then improves. That small failure actually becomes a lesson. Over time, they become stronger and more confident. The important thing to remember is that failure is temporary. Failure does not last forever. Just because something goes wrong today does not mean it will go wrong tomorrow. A person can fail many times and still succeed later. One mistake does not decide your future. One difficult moment does not mean your dream is over. Failure is often just a step in the learning process. Now let us talk about self-doubt. This is where things become more dangerous. Failure happens after trying. But self-doubt can stop people before they even begin. This is why self-doubt is often more harmful. When people doubt themselves too much, they stop moving forward. They stop taking chances. They stop believing in their own ability. And many times they quit before they even give themselves an opportunity. Let us compare failure and self-doubt in a simple way. Failure means you tried. Self-doubt means you stopped yourself. Think about that for a moment. If you fail, at least you tried. At least you learned something. At least you gained experience. But when self-doubt controls your mind, you may never even start. You stay in the same place because fear becomes stronger than action. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine someone who wants to learn English. They dream of speaking fluently. They want to communicate confidently with people. But before they even start practicing, self-doubt begins speaking in their mind. It says, English is too hard for you. You are too old. Your pronunciation is bad. You will never become fluent. Slowly, fear grows stronger. Instead of trying, they give up before even beginning. The sad part is that they never truly discover what they were capable of. Now, imagine someone who dreams of opening a small business. They have ideas. They feel excited at first. But then fear enters their mind. They begin thinking, what if I fail? What if people laugh at me? Maybe I am not smart enough? Because of these thoughts, they never even try. Years later, they still wonder, what could have happened if I had started? Or think about someone who wants to speak confidently in front of others. Maybe they have great ideas. Maybe they want to share their thoughts in meetings, school, or social situations. But fear stops them. They worry too much about making mistakes or looking foolish. So they stay silent. Their voice stays hidden, not because they had nothing valuable to say, but because self-doubt became stronger than confidence. This is why self-doubt can be so dangerous. Failure may slow you down for a short time, but self-doubt can stop your journey completely. Many dreams do not disappear because people failed. Many dreams disappear because people never started. They allowed fear, insecurity, and negative thoughts to control their choices. So, here is something very important to remember. Failing at something is not the worst thing in life. The worst thing is never trying because you are too afraid to believe in yourself. Sometimes one small step, even with fear, is better than standing still forever. How self-doubt slowly destroys confidence. Now let us talk about something very important. How does self-doubt slowly destroy confidence? This is something many people experience in daily life, but sometimes they do not even realize it is happening. Self-doubt usually does not come suddenly like a storm. It grows slowly and quietly. At first, it may seem small. It may begin with only one negative thought. But over time, if we keep listening to those thoughts, they can slowly become stronger and stronger. And little by little, they can damage our confidence. Confidence means believing in yourself. It means trusting that you can learn, improve, and handle challenges even if things are difficult. But self-doubt slowly attacks that confidence. It starts putting negative ideas into your mind. Maybe you have heard these thoughts before. Perhaps you have even said them to yourself without realizing it. Sometimes self-doubt says, I am not good enough. This is one of the most common negative thoughts people have. Maybe someone wants to improve their English, but then they compare themselves to fluent speakers. They start thinking, my English is terrible, or I am not good enough to speak confidently. Because of this thought, they become afraid to practice. Instead of improving, they stay quiet. Other times, self-doubt says, I cannot do this. Imagine someone who wants to learn a new skill. Maybe they want to improve their speaking, start a business, or create content online. At the beginning, they feel excited. But when things become difficult, a negative voice appears and says, this is too hard, or you are not capable. Slowly, they stop believing in themselves. Instead of trying again, they start giving up too early. Sometimes self-doubt whispers another dangerous sentence. Others are better than me. This happens to many people, especially today when we compare ourselves to others online. You may see someone speaking perfect English, growing a successful channel, or doing something amazing. Suddenly, instead of feeling inspired, you begin feeling smaller. You think, they are smarter than me. They are more talented, or I will never be like them. But what we often forget is that everyone starts as a beginner. Every confident person was once nervous. Every successful person once made mistakes. Another common thought created by self-doubt is, maybe I will fail. Fear of failure can become very powerful. Instead of focusing on success or growth, people begin imagining everything that could go wrong. They think too much. What if people laugh at me? What if I make mistakes? What if I embarrass myself? What if I am not successful? Because of these worries, many people stop before even trying. The problem with these thoughts is that they slowly reduce confidence. The more negative thoughts you believe, the weaker your confidence becomes. Imagine confidence like a small plant. It needs care, practice, and positive action to grow. But self-doubt is like something that slowly damages that plant. If you keep feeding your mind with fear and negative thinking, confidence becomes smaller and weaker. Self-doubt can also stop personal growth. Growth happens when we try new things, practice skills, and step outside our comfort zone. But if fear controls us, we stop growing. We avoid challenges. We avoid learning opportunities. We stay in the same place because it feels safer. But staying safe all the time can also stop progress. Another dangerous thing self-doubt creates is fear. Fear of mistakes, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of embarrassment. Sometimes people become so afraid that they avoid situations completely. For example, maybe an English learner wants to practice speaking, but they become afraid of saying something wrong. So they stay silent. They listen, but they never speak. The sad thing is that speaking is exactly what would help them improve. Self-doubt also causes overthinking. Instead of taking action, people stay stuck inside their minds. They think too much about every small detail. What if I make mistakes? What if people judge me? What if I fail? They think and think and think, but they never move forward. Overthinking can make simple things feel very difficult. And finally, self-doubt stops action. This may be the most dangerous part of all. When people stop taking action, dreams begin to disappear. A person may dream of speaking fluent English, but they never practice. Someone may dream of starting a YouTube channel, but they never upload their first video. Someone may dream of becoming confident, but they never speak up. Not because they are unable, but because self-doubt quietly convinced them to stop. So, here is something very important to remember. Confidence does not disappear in one day. Self-doubt slowly weakens it through negative thoughts, fear, comparison, and overthinking. But the good news is this: confidence can also grow again. Every small step, every practice session, and every moment of courage can slowly make you stronger than your doubts. Common reasons why people doubt themselves. Now, after understanding how self-doubt slowly destroys confidence, an important question comes to mind. Where does self-doubt come from? Why do so many people doubt themselves, even when they are smart, talented, or hardworking? The truth is that self-doubt does not usually appear for no reason. It often grows slowly because of fear, experiences, thoughts, and situations in life. When we understand the reasons behind self-doubt, it becomes easier to manage it and slowly become stronger. One of the biggest reasons people doubt themselves is the fear of failure. Many people are afraid of making mistakes. They worry about doing something wrong or not getting good results. Sometimes people believe that failure means they are weak, not smart, or not capable. Because of this fear, they stop themselves before they even begin. For example, imagine someone who wants to improve their English speaking. They really want to speak confidently, but they become afraid of making grammar mistakes or saying words incorrectly. They think, what if people laugh at me? Or, what if my English sounds bad? Because of this fear, they stay quiet instead of practicing. But the truth is that mistakes are a normal part of learning. Nobody becomes fluent without making mistakes first. Fear of failure can affect many parts of life. Someone may want to start a business, but becomes afraid of losing money. Someone may want to start a YouTube channel, but worries people will not like their videos. Someone may want to apply for a better job, but becomes afraid of rejection. Slowly, fear becomes stronger than courage, and dreams stay only inside the mind. Another common reason for self-doubt is comparing yourself to others. This happens very often, especially today because of social media and the internet. We see successful people everywhere. We see fluent English speakers, successful business owners, confident content creators, and people who seem to be doing very well in life. When we look at them, sometimes we start thinking, why am I not like them? Or, they are better than me. For English learners, this happens a lot. Maybe you watch someone speaking English fluently online. Their pronunciation sounds perfect. They speak fast and confidently. Suddenly, instead of feeling motivated, you feel discouraged. You start thinking, I will never speak like that, or my English is too weak. But what we often forget is something very important. We only see their success today. We do not see their struggles from the past. We do not see the mistakes they made or the years of practice behind their confidence. Another reason people doubt themselves is because of negative experiences from the past. Sometimes bad memories stay in our minds for a long time. Maybe someone tried something before and failed. Maybe they were embarrassed in front of others. Maybe they made mistakes and felt ashamed. These experiences can affect confidence deeply. For example, maybe an English learner tried speaking once, but someone laughed at their pronunciation. That painful memory stays in their mind. Later, when they want to speak again, fear returns. They think, what if people laugh again? Because of one bad experience, they stop believing in themselves. Sometimes self-doubt also grows because of negative words from other people. Sadly, not everyone is supportive. Some people criticize others too much. Some people judge, discourage, or make hurtful comments. Maybe someone once said, "You are not smart enough," "Your English is terrible," or "You cannot do this." Even when those words are unfair, they can stay in someone's mind for years. When people hear negative things again and again, they sometimes begin believing them. Instead of trusting themselves, they trust the criticism. Slowly, confidence becomes weaker. This is why positive support is so important in life. Another common reason for self-doubt is perfectionism. This means wanting everything to be perfect before starting. Many people think, I will start when I am fully ready, or I need to become perfect first. But perfection is impossible. For example, some English learners wait too long before speaking because they want perfect grammar. They think, I will speak when my English becomes perfect. But language learning does not work that way. We improve by practicing, by making mistakes, and by learning step by step. The same thing happens with dreams and goals. Someone wants to start a business, but they wait for the perfect time. Someone wants to create videos, but they want perfect equipment first. Someone wants to become confident, but they wait until fear disappears completely. The problem is that perfect timing rarely comes. So, when we look closely, self-doubt often grows from fear, comparison, painful experiences, criticism, and perfectionism. These things slowly affect how we think about ourselves. But here is something important to remember. Understanding where self-doubt comes from is the first step toward becoming stronger than it. Once we understand the problem, we can slowly begin changing the way we think and move forward with more confidence. Real-life examples of self-doubt. Now let us make this topic more real and easier to understand by looking at some everyday examples of self-doubt. Sometimes, when we hear ideas and explanations, they make sense, but real-life examples help us understand things more deeply. You may even see yourself in some of these stories. And while listening, you may realize that self-doubt is something many people experience, often without fully noticing it. Let us first imagine an English learner named Ahmed. Ahmed really wants to speak English fluently. He watches English videos every day, learns vocabulary, and studies grammar. Deep inside, he dreams of speaking English confidently with people from around the world. But there is one big problem. Ahmed feels very shy when it is time to speak. Every time he gets a chance to practice, fear enters his mind. He starts thinking, what if I say something wrong? What if my grammar is bad? What if people laugh at my pronunciation? Because of these thoughts, Ahmed stays quiet. Even when he knows the answer, he chooses silence. He listens more than he speaks because he feels afraid of making mistakes. Now, here is something important to notice. The real problem is not that Ahmed is bad at English. The real problem is self-doubt. Ahmed is actually learning. He is improving every day. But fear is stopping him from practicing. And practice is exactly what he needs to become fluent. If Ahmed slowly becomes brave enough to speak, even with mistakes, he will improve much faster. But if he keeps doubting himself, he may stay stuck for a long time. Now let us think about another example. Imagine someone named Sarah who dreams of getting a better job. She sees a job opening online that looks perfect for her. She reads the description and feels excited at first. She thinks, this job could really change my life. But then self-doubt slowly enters her mind. She begins asking herself negative questions. Am I really good enough? Maybe other people are smarter than me. What if I fail the interview? What if they reject me? Slowly, her confidence becomes weaker. In the end, Sarah never even applies for the job. Now think about this for a moment. Did Sarah fail? No, not really. She never even gave herself a chance. Maybe she actually had the skills. Maybe she could have succeeded. Maybe the company would have accepted her. But self-doubt became the real problem. It stopped her before she even tried. Let us look at one more example. Imagine a man who has a great business idea. For years, he dreams of opening a small coffee shop. He has creative ideas. He knows what kind of place he wants to build. He even talks about it with friends sometimes. But every time he thinks about starting, fear takes control. He starts thinking, what if people do not like my business? What if I lose money? Maybe I am not smart enough to run a business. Maybe successful business owners are different from me. Because of these thoughts, he keeps waiting. 1 year passes, then another year passes. Still, he never starts. The sad thing is that sometimes people with amazing ideas never move forward. not because they are incapable, but because they stop believing in themselves. Self-doubt slowly convinces them to stay in their comfort zone. When we look at all these examples, we begin to understand something very important. Self-doubt often becomes the real problem, not lack of ability. The English learner could improve. The job seeker could apply. The future business owner could begin. But fear and negative thinking stop them from taking action. This is why self-doubt can be so dangerous. It quietly steals opportunities. It stops growth. It keeps people stuck in the same place. Many dreams do not disappear because people are weak or untalented. Many dreams disappear because people stop themselves before life even gives them a chance. So, while listening to these stories, maybe ask yourself this question. Is there something in my life where self-doubt is stopping me from trying? Sometimes, simply becoming aware of it is the first step toward change. Why making mistakes is better than never trying. Now, let us talk about something that many people fear. Making mistakes. For many people, mistakes feel scary. Nobody enjoys failing. Nobody likes feeling embarrassed or uncomfortable. Sometimes people think that making mistakes means they are not smart, not talented, or not good enough. Because of this belief, many people avoid trying new things. They stay in their comfort zone because they are afraid of failure. But here is something very important to understand. Making mistakes is a normal part of growth. In fact, mistakes are often one of the best teachers in life. Think about it for a moment. How do people improve? How do people become skilled? How do people become confident? Usually, it happens through practice, mistakes, learning, and trying again. The truth is simple. When we make mistakes, we learn something new. Mistakes show us what needs improvement. They help us become stronger, smarter, and more experienced. Sometimes a mistake teaches us patience. Sometimes it teaches us what not to do next time. And sometimes mistakes help us grow in ways we never expected. Let us think about learning English because many of you listening are English learners. Imagine someone who never speaks English because they are afraid of making grammar mistakes. They stay silent all the time. They only listen and read, but they never practice speaking. Maybe they think, I will speak when my English becomes perfect. Now, imagine another person. This person speaks English even when they feel nervous. Sometimes they make grammar mistakes. Sometimes they pronounce words incorrectly. Sometimes they feel embarrassed. But they continue practicing anyway. After weeks and months, who do you think will improve faster? Of course, the person who practices. Why? Because confidence grows through action, not through waiting. The same thing happens when learning to ride a bicycle. Imagine a child learning to ride for the first time. At the beginning, they may fall down. Maybe they lose balance. Maybe they feel scared. But imagine if the child said, I fell once, so I will never try again. That child would never learn to ride. The only reason people eventually ride confidently is because they keep trying after mistakes. Life works in a similar way. We improve by trying, falling, learning, and trying again. Every mistake becomes part of the journey. Now let us think about speaking in front of other people. Public speaking can feel scary for many people. Maybe someone wants to share ideas in class, at work, or during a meeting, but they feel nervous. They worry about saying the wrong thing or forgetting their words. At first, speaking may feel uncomfortable. Maybe they make mistakes. Maybe they feel shy. but every time they speak, they become a little stronger. Slowly, confidence begins to grow. This is something very important to remember. Confidence does not come before practice. Confidence comes from practice. Many people think successful or confident people were born that way. But often, they became confident after making many mistakes and learning from them. Even successful people fail. Many successful business owners failed before becoming successful. Many confident speakers were once nervous. Many fluent English speakers once struggled with simple sentences and pronunciation. The difference is that they did not stop after mistakes. They continued moving forward. Sometimes we think failure is the enemy, but often failure is actually part of success. Failure teaches lessons. Failure builds experience. Failure helps people improve. But never trying teaches nothing. So here is the message I want you to remember today. Trying and failing is much better than never trying at all. If you try and fail, at least you learn something. At least you grow. At least you move forward. But when fear stops you from trying, nothing changes. So do not be too afraid of mistakes. Mistakes are not proof that you are weak. Mistakes are proof that you are trying, learning, and growing. And sometimes, one small step with mistakes is much more powerful than standing still forever. Signs that self-doubt is controlling your life. Now let us talk about something very important. Sometimes self-doubt becomes such a normal part of life that people do not even realize it is controlling them. They think their fear, hesitation, or negative thinking is normal. But in reality, self-doubt may quietly be making many decisions for them. So how can we know if self-doubt is controlling our lives? There are some simple signs that can help us understand this better. One common sign is always waiting for the perfect time. Maybe you have said something like this before. I will start later. I am not ready yet. Or, I will do it when everything becomes perfect. This happens to many people. They want to improve their English, start a project, apply for a job, or follow a dream, but they keep waiting. They believe one day they will suddenly feel fully confident and completely ready. But here is the truth. The perfect time rarely comes. Life is never perfect. We may never feel fully ready. Many successful people started while feeling nervous, confused, or uncertain. If you keep waiting for everything to feel perfect, you may stay in the same place for a very long time. Sometimes self-doubt hides behind the excuse of waiting for the right moment. Another sign is overthinking too much. Have you ever spent so much time thinking that you never actually take action? Maybe you think about every possible problem. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I make mistakes? What if I embarrass myself? Instead of moving forward, you stay trapped inside your thoughts. For example, an English learner may want to practice speaking, but they think too much about grammar mistakes or pronunciation. Before speaking, they already imagine failure in their mind. In the end, they stay silent. Not because they cannot speak, but because overthinking becomes stronger than action. Another very common sign is fear of speaking. This happens especially to English learners, but it can happen in many situations. Maybe someone has good ideas, but feels nervous when speaking in front of others. They become afraid of making mistakes or sounding foolish. Because of fear, they stay quiet even when they want to speak. Think about this for a moment. How many opportunities have people missed simply because they were too afraid to use their voice? Sometimes people know the answer in class but say nothing. Sometimes they want to ask a question, but stay silent. Sometimes they want to practice English, but avoid conversations. Slowly, fear becomes stronger, and confidence becomes weaker. Another sign is avoiding challenges. When self-doubt controls someone, they often avoid difficult situations. They choose what feels safe and comfortable. Maybe they avoid learning something new because they are afraid of failing. Maybe they avoid applying for a better job because they fear rejection. Maybe they avoid speaking English because they fear mistakes. The problem is that growth usually happens outside our comfort zone. Challenges may feel uncomfortable, but they also help us improve. When we avoid every difficult situation, we also avoid growth. Another sign of self-doubt is giving up too quickly. Sometimes people try something once or twice, and when it becomes difficult, they immediately stop. They think, maybe I am not good at this, or this is too hard for me. But success often takes time. Imagine someone learning English. At first, speaking feels difficult. Listening feels confusing. Grammar feels hard. But this is normal. Every learner struggles at the beginning. If someone gives up too quickly, they never give themselves enough time to improve. And finally, another sign is needing too much approval from other people. This means always looking for permission, praise, or acceptance before believing in yourself. Some people care too much about what others think. They become afraid of criticism or judgment. Instead of trusting their own decisions, they wait for everyone else to agree. But the truth is, not everyone will always support you or understand your dreams. Sometimes you have to believe in yourself even when others do not. So, as you listen to this, I want you to think honestly about your own life. Do any of these signs sound familiar? Maybe you wait too long before starting. Maybe you overthink too much. Maybe fear stops you from speaking or trying new things. Becoming aware of these signs is important because self-awareness is the first step toward change. When we notice how self-doubt affects us, we can slowly begin taking back control of our lives. Practical ways to overcome self-doubt. Now that we understand how self-doubt works and how it can affect our lives, an important question comes up. How can we overcome self-doubt? The good news is that self-doubt does not have to control your life forever. Yes, it can feel strong sometimes, but there are simple and practical ways to slowly become stronger than your fears. You do not have to change everything in one day. Real growth happens step by step. One helpful way to overcome self-doubt is to start small. Many people become overwhelmed because they think they must make huge changes immediately. But big success usually begins with small steps. If you want to improve your English, you do not need to speak perfectly from the beginning. Start by learning a few new words, speaking short sentences, or practicing for a few minutes each day. Small actions may look simple, but over time, they create big progress. Another important step is to stop comparing yourself to other people. Comparison often makes self-doubt stronger. When we constantly compare ourselves to others, we forget our own progress. Maybe someone speaks English better than you today, but that does not mean you cannot improve tomorrow. Everyone has a different journey, different struggles, and different timing in life. Instead of asking, "Why am I not like them?" try asking, "Am I improving little by little?" Focus on your own growth. It is also important to accept mistakes instead of fearing them. Many people avoid trying because they want everything to go perfectly. But mistakes are not proof that you are failing. Mistakes are proof that you are learning. Think about children learning to walk. They fall many times, but they do not stop trying. In the same way, if you make mistakes while speaking English or learning something new, do not be too hard on yourself. Every mistake teaches something valuable. Another powerful habit is to practice positive self-talk. Sometimes the way we speak to ourselves becomes the biggest problem. Instead of saying, "I cannot do this," try saying, "I am still learning." Instead of thinking, "I am not good enough," remind yourself, "I can improve with practice." Positive thinking does not mean pretending everything is easy. It means giving yourself encouragement instead of constant criticism. It is also important to take action even when you feel scared. This may sound difficult, but confidence does not come before action. Confidence grows because of action. You do not need to wait until fear disappears. Sometimes brave people still feel afraid, but they move forward anyway. Maybe you feel nervous speaking English. Speak anyway. Maybe you feel afraid to try something new. Take one small step anyway. Action slowly makes fear smaller. At the same time, remember to celebrate small progress. Sometimes people only focus on big success and forget small improvements. But every small win matters. Maybe today you learned 10 new English words. Maybe today you spoke one sentence more confidently. Maybe today you tried something you were afraid of. These small moments matter because progress happens little by little. Finally, remember to keep learning and practicing. Growth takes time. Nobody becomes confident overnight. Nobody becomes fluent in 1 week. Learning is a journey. Some days will feel easy, and some days will feel difficult. But if you continue learning and practicing, progress will come. So, here is the message I want you to remember. Action is stronger than fear. Fear may tell you to stop, wait, or give up. But every small action you take makes you stronger. Even small courage can slowly change your life. How English learners can stop self-doubt. Now let us talk directly to you, especially if you are an English learner. Because self-doubt often becomes stronger when we are learning something new, and English is no exception. Many learners feel afraid when they try to speak. They worry about grammar, pronunciation, and making mistakes. But today, I want you to understand something very important. If you want to stop self-doubt, you must also change the way you think about learning English. First, do not fear grammar mistakes. Grammar is important, yes, but mistakes are part of learning. Even fluent English speakers make grammar mistakes sometimes. The goal is not to speak perfect English from the beginning. The goal is to communicate and improve step by step. When you stop worrying about perfect grammar, you will feel more free to speak. And when you speak more, you improve faster. Second, do not fear pronunciation mistakes. Many learners stop speaking because they think their pronunciation is not good enough. But let me tell you something simple. Pronunciation improves with practice. You do not need a perfect accent to communicate clearly. Even native speakers have different accents. What matters most is that people understand you. Every time you speak, your pronunciation becomes better, even if it feels slow at first. Now, one of the most important things is this. Speak even if your English is not perfect. Many learners wait too long. They think, "I will speak when I am ready," or "I will speak when my English is better." But the truth is, you become better by speaking, not before speaking. If you wait for perfection, you may never start. So speak with confidence, even if your sentences are simple. Even if you make mistakes, you are still learning. Another important habit is to practice every day. You do not need to study for many hours. Even a few minutes daily can make a big difference. You can listen to English podcasts, repeat sentences, practice speaking alone, or try small conversations. The key is consistency. When you practice every day, your mind slowly becomes more comfortable with English, and self-doubt becomes weaker. You should also remember that confidence grows slowly. Many learners expect quick results. They want to become fluent in a short time. But confidence does not work like that. It grows step by step. One small success leads to another. One small sentence leads to better speaking. One small practice session leads to more confidence. So, do not rush yourself. Trust the process. Sometimes you may feel like you are not improving. Sometimes you may feel stuck. That is normal. Every learner goes through this stage. Even advanced speakers once felt the same. The important thing is to keep going, even when progress feels slow. Because improvement is happening, even if you cannot see it immediately. Also, stop comparing your English with others. You may see people speaking fluently and think, I am not good like them. But remember, they also started from zero. They also made mistakes. They also felt shy at the beginning. Your journey is your own, and your progress will come at its own time. If you are listening to this podcast right now, I want you to understand something deeply. Your voice matters. Your English does not need to be perfect to be valuable. You do not need advanced vocabulary to express your ideas. You just need courage to try. So every time self-doubt comes into your mind, remind yourself, I am learning, I am improving, I am getting better every day. Keep speaking, keep practicing, keep believing in your progress. Because your English journey is not about perfection. It is about growth, patience, and consistency. Now we are coming to the end of today's episode, and I want to speak to you from the heart. If you have listened this far, thank you so much for staying with me. I hope this message is not just something you hear, but something you feel inside. Because today's topic is not only about English or learning, it is about your life, your dreams, and your belief in yourself. First of all, I want you to remember something very important. Your dreams matter. No matter how small they may seem, no matter how far they feel, your dreams are still important. Maybe you want to speak English fluently. Maybe you want to build a better life. Maybe you want to start something new or become more confident. Whatever your dream is, it deserves your effort and attention. You should never feel like your dreams are too small or not important enough. And remember this as well. You do not need to be perfect to start. Many people stop themselves because they think they must be ready first. They think they must have perfect English, perfect skills, perfect confidence, or perfect timing. But perfection is not the starting point. Perfection is not required to begin. You can start as you are, with your current level, with your current knowledge, and with your current confidence. Growth will come along the way. You also need to understand that failure is not the end of your story. Sometimes people fail once and think everything is over. They feel disappointed and give up. But failure is not a stop sign. Failure is just a lesson. It is a moment that teaches you something. Every successful person has failed many times before reaching success. So if you fail, it does not mean you are not capable. It simply means you are learning. The real enemy is not failure. The real enemy is self-doubt. Because self-doubt stops you before you even try. It convinces you that you cannot do something before you even give yourself a chance. It quietly steals your confidence, your action, and your opportunities. But the good news is that self-doubt is not permanent. You can overcome it. You can grow stronger than it. And you can slowly replace fear with action. Always remember that small steps can create big changes. You do not need to change your whole life in one day. You only need to take one small step at a time. One small English sentence. One small attempt to speak. One small moment of courage. Over time, these small steps become big progress. Even the longest journey starts with one simple step. And most importantly, believe in your progress. Even when you feel like you are not improving, you are still learning. Even when you make mistakes, you are still growing. Progress is not always fast or visible. Sometimes it is slow and quiet. But if you continue, you will become better than yesterday. So now, I want to say something directly to you. Do not give up on yourself. Do not let self-doubt decide your future. You are capable of more than you think. You are learning. You are improving. And step by step, you are becoming stronger. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Code Your English. I truly appreciate your time, your attention, and your effort to improve your English. I hope this podcast helps you not only in learning English, but also in believing in yourself a little more today. Please keep practicing your English every day. Speak even when you feel unsure. Learn even when it feels difficult. And most importantly, believe in your journey, because every small effort you make is shaping your future. I would love to have you back in the next episode of Code Your English. Until then, take care of yourself, keep learning, and keep moving forward with confidence and hope. Goodbye for now, and stay strong. You are doing better than you think.